decided we called the talk, virtual reality with the new Ricoh Theta S. Virtual reality is a little bit of an odd name for this, but it's kind of what the market has decided is the name for this market segment, both products and the style of media that we're doing. So there's a little bit of confusion when it comes to names. So, you might hear me say panorama or virtual tour or 360-degree image or immersive images. But basically, the market's kind of spoken and they're now calling this market segment VR or virtual reality. Sometimes you hear people refer to it as 3D. It's not really three-dimensional images. But again, it just sort of goes to show you that with this new technology, there sometimes is a bit of confusion for the names. Basically, up until the Ricoh Theta, it was much easier to view content made by very few people but distributed widely than it was to create it. Now the Theta really is giving us an affordable tool where we can create these immersive images, this virtual reality. So it's pretty exciting. And this whole market segment's really been given a big push from Facebook. In 2014, they acquired a small startup company named Oculus, and they spent $2 billion in basically share value, US, to purchase this small company. Company never made a cent, only had a few employees, but they had an idea. And their idea basically was a virtual reality headset. I don't know if anybody remembers the old days. We used to have these things called a Viewmaster, which was little film discs, and they were three-dimensional. And these headsets, now this is not an Oculus Rift, we don't have one. They're very hard to get your hands on. But that's basically what Oculus was all about. And Facebook saw that this was going to be a huge sort of future. And they're betting on the long game with this. And so they bought the company. The New York Times, for example, has shipped out 1.5 million little cardboard headsets so that their subscription holders, the people who buy the physical newspaper, can interact online with the 360 video content that they're producing. So they're doing 360 journalism. So it's very exciting times. But so that's kind of where we sit with what VR is. So let's just cut right to the chase. Let's take a picture. So I'm just going to very quickly just flip over to a live view from this Theta that's sitting right there on that small light stand. So let's get over here. And there we have it. So I'm just going to stand over here. So now I'm running a live view from the Theta through to the iPad, and I'm just connecting it up to the computer. But that's basically what we have. Now I'm going to bring the lights down just a little bit so you can see the screen. And there we go. So we've basically got a smart device, in this case an iPad, but they work on both Android and iOS products. And this is the user interface for the Ricoh Theta. So let's just go here. We'll just turn the exposure up a little wee bit, and let's take a shot. So I'm going to hold still. It's a quarter of a second. It's not bright in here at all. But I'll just hold still. I'm going to actually just turn the sensitivity up to ISO 200 just quickly. So we'll get that. It'll be a little bit brighter, and then I'll just take the exposure down just a little bit. So let's get a shot here. So we press the big shutter button, which is the Theta symbol from the Greek alphabet, and it'll take a picture. And you'll hear a little chirp. It's shot the picture. Now it's stitching it inside the Theta. So it does the assembly. There's 2 cameras in there, 2 sensors, 2 lenses. And now it's transferring it over to the iPad. All doing this by Wi-Fi. It's got its own built-in Wi-Fi hotspot. And here's the picture. And now we're interacting with it. So we had a real-time preview, and here we are. We've captured the complete sphere in 1 click. It's truly incredible. Now let's just cut to the chase here and talk about how we've seen the good stuff. How did we used to do this, and how does this all fit in to what we're going to do with these images in the long run? So just slip over to our next slide here. I just want to I'll just bring out this. So before the Theta, we used to use big cameras and big lenses, and of course you still can for the ultimate in image fidelity. So this is a digital SLR, and there's a fisheye lens on here. And this explains to you how we shoot a panorama. Think of it the hard way. So there's 2 fisheye lenses on the Theta. There's 1 fisheye lens here. So needless to say, it sees half of a hemisphere on this side, and then over where you guys are sitting, it sees another hemisphere. And the Theta takes these pictures simultaneously, assembles them basically seamlessly, and then spits out the product to the iPad all in like 15 seconds. Well, here we have the professional way. We've got a fisheye lens here. It doesn't see half a hemisphere, it sees about a quarter, so we've got to take 4 shots around. So we rotate this, take a shot, rotate this, take a shot, rotate it, take a shot, pull the memory card out, go home, dump the files, do some work on them in Lightroom or whatever we like to use, put them into a stitching program. There's very few stitchers that can handle this type of file. Put them all together, fix the errors, because there's always errors because people have moved. The pictures aren't always synchronized together because it's taken us 20, 30 seconds to take the shot. And then eventually we get it all done and the moment's lost. The Theta is just perfect. It just shoots it instantaneously. But I've been using it like this way for, oh, I don't know, 7, 8 years. And I tell you, I'm not excited about this anymore. I'm excited about this because this is just delivering such unique images it's instant. So now we can take this picture right here. We'll just go over on the iPad. Let me just get this back here so we can see it. I'm just going to get us over to, just give me 10 seconds here. There's the iPad here. What do you say we just go over to Facebook? We're just going to go to the Michael's Camera We Can Help group, which you're more than welcome to join. There's been postcards circulated around, and if there's Ed at the back here with the camera in his hand, he's got some extra postcards to hand out to you. And let's just very quickly post this panorama to Facebook. Facebook turned the switch on for Theta panos just 11 days ago. And the panoramic photographers worldwide are just going nuts. I would venture to say there's been a 95% adoption rate amongst people who shoot panoramas, both with Thetas and in the hard way, using Facebook. Everywhere I'm going within my pano community on Facebook, I'm seeing nothing but Facebook panoramas. It's just completely revolutionized everything. So let's just put one up here. So demo pano at Michael's. And always wants to do that in lowercase. Just quick. Camera. There we go. So we're just going to add the image, and there it is right there that we just shot. Now, I don't know if you can see this, but there's a little sphere in the bottom right-hand corner there. Facebook knows this is a panorama, and it's going to put it up, and it's going to be interactive. Now, what it's temporarily shown me is the unwrapped version of it. So that's what's called an equirectangular projection. But basically, imagine that the left and the right side are the wraparound line for the pano. So let's just post this to Facebook. It's uploaded it. Now you see that there's an icon here, and we're interacting with that now in real time. We'll double tap, and we'll make it full screen. So there we go. We're using the gyroscopic action on the iPad to completely view that. So we've shot it. I talked a little bit, and we've posted it. If I didn't talk, we'd have this thing up there literally within 20, 30 seconds of shooting it. That's just a game changer for the panoramic photographer. And of course, this just brings a whole new, I might just call it, sphere to your photography. It's a very unique camera, and it's just plain fun. I can't get enough of it. So I think you're really going to enjoy having a play with it. So obviously, after I'm done the talk, you're more than welcome to hang out and have a little, we can hook it up to your camera if you even want to. So let's just get back to the Theta app here. So basically, where's VR heading right now? So let's just talk a little bit about the market. So Facebook bought Oculus, spent a lot of money. They're currently shipping limited quantities of their headset. Now, this is a complete high-tech display. It's got the LCDs in it. It's got sound on it. It needs to talk to a very high-end computer. So to build an Oculus station, it's going to cost a few dollars. But, they're getting that thing ready. Samsung produces headsets that are very, very similar to this one, and they're designed to work with the Samsung mobile phone. And so they call that the Gear VR. You basically can't buy a Samsung cell phone now, a current one, without them giving you one of those for free. So if you've got a new Samsung phone, you're ready to start, diving into this type of content. Sony's about to ship a VR PlayStation. This technology is going to be amazing for gaming. So I think we'll probably see the gamers really adopt the headsets. I think the casual user might, you use it a little wee bit. It's not a huge expense, and of course they're giving them away. So you might use it for virtual tourism, or you might explore some of the things that you've taken. But of course the content displays on screen, and as you can see, it prints very well. Now I might as well just start passing a few things around. So we produced a few prints here that you can see that have been produced or shot with the Theta. And I've got some of so I call that a little planet. And then there's the full file from the Theta. So you can see that this little camera that's smaller than your phone can deliver a nice big print. So let's pass this one around here and just send them around the room. And now I'll send a couple Thetas around the room while we're at it too. So now what I'm going to do is I'll turn the lights up a little bit here while you get a chance to see this. So this is what a Theta is. Now, keep in mind, this has got two fisheye lenses on them. They're a little sensitive, like all cameras. You're not supposed to put your fingers on the lens. And of course, because these are so exposed, it's the sort of camera you don't want to drop. Now, I've got this one actually taking pictures as I'm going to pass it around the room. So it's in a time-lapse mode. So you just hold it around the bottom there and have a little look. And you see that it's identical on both sides. Although the indicators are on the front, but believe it or not, the back camera is the front camera. It's kind of funny that way. And so that's just taking photos automatically. And now I'll pass this one around on the other side, and I'll just turn it on. And we'll shoot video on this one. So this one's now recording video. So I'll just pass that around, and then when you're done, we'll set them on back up. And of course, there's another one of the little planet prints here. So this is the one that we used on our promo, so feel free to pass that around. Now, let's continue on here. So where are we going to use our pictures? Well, YouTube and Facebook both support 360 video. And Facebook has just activated 360 still support just 11 days ago. And it's a game changer for me, because I'm a still photographer and I really like panoramic stills. So to be able to have the most important social media platform available to disseminate my content is just a game changer for me. So all the stuff I shot historically I can use, and of course I can just use what I'm shooting in real time with the Theta. It's just amazing. So for example, I was flying in a helicopter recently. I could have published that panorama directly to Facebook and millions of people could have been interacting with it, all just moments after I've shot it. But there still are very few ways to create content, except for this. It's right here, and you can buy it today. As far as I'm concerned, Ricoh's made shooting and sharing VR content fun. And really, at the end of the day, if your photography is not fun, you might as well be thinking about another hobby. Because I tell you, shooting it the old-fashioned way with that huge digital SLR, that was hard. I was really lucky that I liked the images because I had to struggle to produce them. But this thing's just made it so simple. Oh, there we go. Makes VR simple. So up until now, it was very complex. There was huge delays between capture and delivery. I figured the Theta's increased my efficiency by a factor of 10,000 times. Is that incredible? It's going from crawling to having a supersonic scooter. I mean, it's just, do you remember when you stopped using a typewriter and you had a word processor? You didn't really get excited about the typewriter again. It's like when digital photography arrived, you weren't that excited about film anymore, unless you just had a total passion. I didn't touch a film camera for 13 years after I got digital. Digital was just a game changer for me. So for my panoramas, the Theta is that kind of game changer. And the Theta S is Ricoh's third generation unit, and it's got a really unique optical design. If I just sort of show it, obviously it's been passed around the room. The lenses are so close together that it sees each side of the picture basically from the same point, which enables it to stitch. So when you see this camera trying to do it, if that's the one side of the picture, well, we can't have the camera over on the other side shooting the other way because the camera's in the road of the previous picture. You just cannot put two cameras together in a box and have them be close together. But Ricoh's done it. And the trick that they use is the sensor is not actually behind the lens. There's a prism in there. So they folded the optical path, kind of like the way the prism in a digital SLR works, where it shoots the scene from the lens up to your viewfinder. So basically, the sensors in here are on the side. And that's what's unique about this. So just out of curiosity here, let me show you what some other cameras look like that are competing in the marketplace. So basically, here we have. So this is what GoPro's got. It's not shipped yet, but this is what GoPro is thinking that will be the solution. 6 cameras in a box. And that's not going to produce a file right on your phone. That's going to produce a lot of homework. And honestly, it's not going to produce a very good picture either. So that's GoPro's idea. Again, you can't even buy it because it doesn't exist. There are some homemade versions that are similar. Here, I'll put that away. So then what we've got is, what's Google doing? Google's got lots of money. They can make a camera. They got cars driving all over the world taking panos, right? Well, here's Google's idea. Let's add more GoPros. So then I got 16 of them in a ring the size of a trash can. Well, that's not going to work. Well, it sort of does, but I mean, you need a supercomputer to process the images. So that's what Google's great minds are at work. Here's what Kodak, albeit what used to be Kodak, which is now, I don't really even know what it is. So they've got two cameras that they've sticky taped together, basically. Again, you can't even really buy this in Australia. You've got to mail order it from the States or something. I've never even seen one. So for all intents and purposes, that doesn't exist. Samsung, well, they got to have something, don't they? They got the VR headsets they're giving away. Well, it turns out you can't buy their camera yet in Australia, but it does exist, but I've never touched it. I'd like to get my hands on it to test it. But again, it's a tennis ball with some legs. You can't put it in your pocket, and the lenses are too far apart. It's not going to give you a good panorama. So, you know, that's where that is. And Ricoh's, lo and behold, at their third iteration. And this is what their prototype was looking like. Well, they figured a way to collapse the lenses and get it close together and take what used to look like a hammerhead shark and make it into this little thing that just slips in my pocket. I take it everywhere I go. So Ricoh really knows what they're doing. So it's exciting times.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So how will it go? I do a lot of drone work. How will it go with drones?
I've seen quite a few people use it on drones. Normally, what drone do you have?
We have lots of drones commercially.
Oh, so you got some big ones?
Yeah.
Okay, well, normally when you're doing drone panoramas, you've got to take quite a number of frames to get the complete sphere. Obviously, with the Theta, you get one shot, which is very convenient. So there's no post-production really required on the images. Just need to have a way to mount it a little bit below the drone. So I've seen some people that are making some 3D printed parts that are running with an extra servo so that when they want to come in to land, they fold the Theta up like the landing gear does sometimes. If these images meet your requirement, you've seen the prints, if you think that's going to solve your problem, Theta's the way to go. You know, it's easy, it just works. Now, your distance to control it will be a little bit tricky because it's a Wi-Fi interface. So you'd set it up in time-lapse mode and just have it record images.
Will they go on the drone or will they just...
Let's wait for that a little bit. That's coming up. It does look that way, doesn't it?
A huge hole.
So let's just talk about how do we actually use the Theta. This sort of gets into your question. It's got a shutter button on it. You can use it handheld. So if I just go over here, I'll pretend it's not on this little mount here. Let's just take a picture. So it's taking a shot. So let's go over here and just grab that shot. So it's stored in the memory on the Theta, but I'm just going to very quickly go over here and go to the camera. So let me just bring this up so you can see what I'm doing, sorry. So let's zip over here to QuickTime. Okay, so I'm now looking at the pictures I've shot so far today on this particular Theta, and the most recent one here is the one I just shot with my hand, okay? So we'll just quickly download it. It's doing that over Wi-Fi, and then we'll show you what we've got. And here we are, and needless to say, my hand's in the picture. So if you do use it handheld, think about your hand creatively. Your hand is in the picture, and your thumb is really in the picture. But the Theta is not in the picture, which is kind of cool. The way that they've done their stitching is they sort of pinch the little bottom of the file so that you just sort of get this your hand. But you see how my hand dominates the scene. So this is why I tend to not shoot handheld. But you can. And the other thing, of course, is you don't have to use the shutter button, because the whole point of having it on the smartphone or the tablet is to trigger it. And of course, you can use the self-timer. You got 2, 5, and 10-second self-timer. The Theta can stand on its own on a flat surface. Obviously, if there's wind, it could blow over. And you have to be very careful about the lenses on this thing. You don't want to scratch it up. You know, you've just spent a fair bit of money on a nice camera. You've got to take care of it. It's got a nice little padded sleeve, which you store it in, and that cleans the lenses every time you put it in. But like any lens, you don't want to put your fingers and get it all smudged up. So I like to put the Theta on poles. And so that's the answer to your question. I've got a couple of poles over here that I use to shoot my Theta pictures. And the Manchester Unity one that you see there was shot with this pole. So this is a 5-section, about 6-foot collapsed carbon fiber pole. And I basically just put this last little aluminum bit here on the top of this, just threads right in. The Theta weighs next to nothing. I can manhandle this at a 45-degree angle at full extension, which is 9.5 meters. And so that's how I've shot that picture hanging out over Swanston Street. The picture at Luna Park, the pole is vertical. I also use big cameras on this pole, but I tell you, it's pretty hard to manhandle with a big camera. The Theta only weighs 125 grams. It's nothing. And for some of the pictures that you've seen in the flyer for this that was taken from a helicopter, I used this smaller carbon fiber pole. And in that case, I had the Theta below the helicopter. The Theta doesn't care whether it's horizontal, 45 degrees, vertical, or upside down. It's got an orientation sensor in there that automatically, every time you shoot, it just straightens the picture right out for you. So it's very convenient. Let's get back to our slide here. So as I said, so it links to smartphones and tablets. You've been seeing me, I've been running it on my iPad. I've been using it on the iPad because I'm using the phone to run the slideshow. It shoots both stills and videos. I think the stills are spectacular. The videos are a little low resolution. They're very nice on iPhones, and you can do some really creative stuff with the videos and editing them with the Theta apps. And we've put quite a few little videos on our Instagram feed, and we've been getting very, very good engagement with them. What I basically have been doing, and you saw the square print that I passed around, we call those a little planet. So I've been making little planet time lapses, and they're real fun. And why don't I just show you one here? Let's just bring one right up now. So here we are, video, little planet. And so here's one from, so I'm standing with the big pole out front of Flinders Street Station. So the pole's way up. I've recorded maybe, it might have only been a minute of video or so. And let's see, we'll just loop that back here. Let it play again. And I've just sped it up. All done on the phone with the Theta apps. It's just incredible. I did another one at Anzac Day, which is kind of cool. So here's the Anzac Day one. So again, I'm standing in the middle of a crowd with my pole up. I apologize. Let me bring the light down a bit here so you can see this a little bit better here. So I've just watched the whole crowd disperse around me, all in this. In this case, I shot for 10 minutes, which was a little bit tricky standing there with a pole 30 feet in the air. And then I sped it up. I did 2 processes through the Theta app. It's called the Theta Plus Video app. I sped it up 10 times, then I sped it up another 4 times. I'm always trying to make these things about 15 seconds long because we put them on Instagram, and Instagram's video limit was 15 seconds at the time. But even though now Instagram lets you do a 1-minute video or maybe even longer, 15 seconds is a nice little bite-sized chunk of energy for people. And so we've had good success with things about that long. Now let's get back to our slide here. We've got fully automatic and manual exposure control. This is really important. The closest competitor to this camera is the Samsung, which you can't get your hands on because it's not available in Australia, and it does not have manual exposure controls. So if you want to work with the Theta in low light, which it works very, very well, the manual exposure controls are incredible. And of course, you've got full white balance control and ISO, so you can do it a heck of a lot creatively with the Theta. And maximum shutter speed is 60 seconds. The lenses are very, very fast. They're f2 lenses. You will get a very bright picture in the city of Melbourne at night with the 60-second exposure, even at the lowest ISO setting on this camera. It gathers lots of light. And of course, this is the thing. Remember I said that, that it makes it fun. Shooting panoramas with the Theta and sharing them is fun. Well, what really makes it fun is this camera is so small, you can put it anywhere. I think the second exposure I captured once I got my hands on the Theta, I put it in the fridge. I wanted to see if the light was going out when I was closing the door. Turns it wasn't. I'm very upset about my fridge now. I've got to deal with this. And with the very first version of the Theta, I didn't own one, but I played with it in New York in 2014. First thing I shot with that was a pano inside my mouth, because you can. It's just a crazy camera. It's so small. You can strap it to your dog. You could probably strap it to a cat. There's just so many neat things you can do. Shooting a pano inside a vehicle with this is really good. Using the big digital SLR on a tripod in a vehicle, that's really hard. So it's got some great features with it. And of course, because I'm not a big fan of putting my thumb in the picture, I like to mount it to poles and little light stands. A tripod's basically too big for the Theta. It sees the ball head on your tripod because the Theta sees everything. So I've just got a little Manfrotto light stand, which is quite good. Now you may notice that I've got a little yellow pack here because this, I was doing the training earlier with the staff. I wanted to make sure the Theta wasn't going to run out of charge because this is the third time I've run through this little lecture today. So that's just a little $10 USB battery pack from Officeworks. That'll extend the runtime of the Theta to about 3 or 4 times. The Theta normally is good for about 100, 200 pictures when you're running around with the Wi-Fi on your phone. If you run it in time lapse, you maybe get 600 shots out of it. So that'll make a nice little video. You can usually do maybe, if you're in video mode, I think it peaks at about 25 minutes for a video, and you can probably get 2 of those before the battery goes flat. So it's a built-in battery and the memory's built in. It's got 8 gig of memory inside, and like I say, the battery gives you about that kind of runtime. It charges through the USB port, and of course you can then plug a USB battery pack into it to give it a little extra runtime. So that's what I'm doing with that little yellow battery pack. Now, the Theta ecosystem. Basically, in today's market with cameras, it's all about mobile. Every camera company is rushing to get connectivity from their cameras to their phone. Well, this camera requires a phone, basically, because otherwise you're just going to have your thumb in the picture. So it's all about the mobile with the Theta. So the apps that Ricoh provides, those are mobile-based. There is one desktop app, and it's really only used for processing longer videos. For most of what you want to use the Theta for, you do it all on your phone or you do it on your iPad. And it works brilliantly. So there's 3 apps that they provide free of charge. You just get them through your app store. So there's the Theta S capture app, the Theta Plus processing app for stills, and the Theta Plus processing app for videos. So you can publish your 360 video directly from your smartphone to Facebook or to YouTube or to the Theta site. Keep in mind, if you're going to do videos, you're going to want to keep your clips pretty small because your phone is not a desktop computer when it comes to processing speed. But little 360 video clips that are short are probably for the best. You don't want to do a 10-minute video, it'd be kind of boring. You can also capture and publish from within other applications. The Theta has its own, they call it an API, application programming interface. So developers are free to develop for the Theta. And so Google has their own app, which is Google Street View, and it talks to the Theta. So that means there'll be lots more things coming as this market expands. And there are quite a number of other third-party apps, but the Google Street View one is probably the major app. So with that, you can publish using the geo coordinates of your phone, because of course the GPS location of your phone at the time of capture is embedded in the file. So Google will know where the picture was taken, and you can then directly publish it to the Street View Maps database. And I've done that a few times. And there's people out there now doing this commercially. The Theta shoots a picture which is good enough to sell. And as you've seen it, it's good enough to print, it's good enough to sell. And I think the prints are just spectacular out of this thing. So the last thing you can do is using the Theta apps. Oh, sorry?
So what does that actually mean when you post to the Street View database? How does that actually...
That panorama can now be found by users all over the world when they're looking at those locations on maps. Just like Street View from the car, it's added to that same visual database. So I've got a pano that you might have saw on the slideshow at the beginning, which is taken out at the Melbourne airport with an A380 flying over my head. And that pano's been viewed thousands of times on Google. People find them. I don't know how, but they do. Well, I know how.
They just select which ones they keep and which ones they don't? Or?
Google keeps everything. They used to have a bit of quality control, but Google is all about marketing and selling more ads. They are happy for you to work for them for free. So it's just the way it is. But yeah, panos on Google get seen. I've got friends of mine that have got like 10 million views in a collection of like 20 images. I don't have that many. I've got about 300,000 views over 50 images. So, but I'm shooting things that aren't that popular, like, corridors.
Do you get a link to who published that as well?
Your name is there, sometimes a little bit buried. Google's not that keen on promoting you. But yeah, if you hunt around, usually you can find the person who shot it. Sometimes my phone rings. People find me and phone me.
Yeah, right.
I don't know why, but anyway, Lastly, and this kind of goes right back to sort of my art form, I like flat images. I like prints. I like the look of that. I think it's kind of neat. So that is the full 360 from this side to the other side. And so I'm drawn to them. Some people find them a little obtuse. And I like the square pictures, the little planets that we handed around. So I quite often choose to publish my stuff not so much interactively. I call this a flat file, or it's referred to as a flat file. It could print. Prints are flat. They are called flat files. And of course, they can be distributed on Facebook and on Instagram. And at this stage, Instagram does not support interactive content. But I believe Facebook, because they own Instagram, are going to turn panoramas on Instagram very, very soon. And the reason I believe that is, first off, they just did it 11 days ago on Facebook. And the default view for a panorama on Facebook is square. And I think there's a reason it's square. Instagram is square. I think they're going to use the exact same display engine for when they release it on Instagram. They've got to do a couple of commercial things with Instagram first. They've just launched business pages. Once they get the bugs ironed out with that, I'm pretty certain we're going to see them launch panos there. The time between announcement and delivery for panos on Facebook was about a month. And now they haven't announced it yet. So give it a month or two. I think we're going to see that. And that'll be a game changer. Instagram and Facebook together, that controls image distribution. That's how images are seen by the image viewing public now. Facebook could turn around and start and create a stock photo library. It'd be amazing. All of a sudden now you could buy images from within the Facebook ecosystem to use in your Facebook ads. I'm hoping they do it, because then they'll maybe buy some images from me. So yeah, we've got some really interesting things that are happening. So where do we go from here? So VR content's really new. It's so new that there's really only one camera on the market that can shoot it easily, and we're looking at it. The post-production workflows are still in their infancy. I do a bit of post-production on these things, but I've been at this for years. So there's some tricks of the trade to start editing these pictures. Most software doesn't know what a panorama is today. And of course, in the video sphere, it's even harder. So yes, we're really at the early days. But you know what? Diving in at the beginning of something is fun, because things are just changing at a rapid pace. And you could be the innovator in your group of photographer friends, you know? So Ricoh's created this open platform. They're very active in the developer community. So I think we're going to see lots of new applications that use panoramas coming up, things that are going to use them for stuff that we don't even know of today.
Does something like a very light room with very few features ever use the stitching?
The stitching is by science. The camera never changes what it's doing. It'll always stitch. Yeah, it doesn't have to care. It just does. You will get a little bit of a discontinuity in the around 20, 30 centimeters around it on the edge. So it's important as you dive into your theta photography, as you're progressing, to sort of know the weaknesses of the system, like know how it has lens flare and where the seam is going to be. It's a little soft in the seams. And if you come up at the end here and take a good look close up to these prints, and I'll show you where the seams are. But to the average person, you'd never know. It's just incredible what it does. So where do I stand on the Theta S? Well, obviously I kind of love it, because I just can't stop using it. I take it everywhere I go. Take two of them sometimes. I think it's a fantastic stills camera at an amazing price point. It just is. It's two cameras in one box. It's so small, smaller than my mobile phone, you know? It's just amazing. I'm actually taking more pictures on my Theta than I am on my mobile, and I use my mobile a lot. The video area for it, concentrate on your stills. Video is in its infancy in 360. Video is hard. I think Ricoh's going to have some amazing stuff in their next version for video, but you can certainly learn the ropes of 360 video right now with this thing. But if 360 video is exactly what you need, and you need high quality, you're going to want to be thinking about learning the ropes first and then waiting for some new technology, because there really is nothing simple that shoots 360 video. It's just so early days. Most of the high-end stuff that's done is extremely expensive to produce, because it's done with arrays of GoPros, and it's not even a perfect situation to begin with. It is hard. You're talking about, like an hour of post-production time to work on 1 minute of video. Extremely bad ratios. Very expensive to produce good 360 video content. I think that we're going to see some amazing things in the future from Ricoh, because the hardware is there. It's just You know, remember the very first iPhone had allows. What did it even do video? The first iPhone probably didn't. I don't even think it did. I think it was like 2 versions before they had video. But anyway, so that's kind of where we're sitting right now with it. And lastly, we've got special today. So you pick up a Theta S from us. I'm going to do a workshop, so you can have a little bit of one-on-one time with me, an hour and a half, and get you up to speed with all the little tricks of the trade to make the most of your Theta. And happy to answer any questions. Got lots more samples to show. So ask away.
Where do you get the stills printed? Can they be printed at any?
What a great question. Downstairs, right here. Talked to Chris in printing. He was so pleased with what he got out of these things. He's been telling everybody around as to how he's been doing them. But we've got a fine art print lab downstairs, and these have been printed and mounted right in-house. And very fast turnaround time.
If you mount it, I guess it would be upside down on a drone, would you capture, because like when you have on the pole you can see the 360 of the sky, so would you have the 360 of the drone above?
Yes, you will see the drone. So the way that people are mounting it upside down on drones are they're trying their best to hang the Theta down a little bit. But putting it on a fishing line and letting it swing all over the place, not a very good idea. But in general, the camera already on the drone can't shoot anything above it anyway. And what's above the drone? Sky. Everybody just fakes it in Photoshop. It's very, very simple. But that's one of the tricks of the trade of panoramic photography. Almost any drone can shoot a pano, but it takes between 30 and 60 frames to do it. And of course, that's 30 to 60 frames of potential errors. Drone moves, people move, things happen. Drone panoramic photography, the hard way, is hard. Harder than what I'm doing with that camera, and it's not moving. So a Theta on a drone, if it meets your image quality requirements, is a brilliant idea.
So how far ahead do you reckon Ricoh is of the competitors?
Oh, God. Miles. Just miles. Third generation and about to have, you know, what, we're going to see a 4th generation next year sometime, probably? Yeah. Samsung's got their first one out, and it's a little tennis ball, you know, with a bad user interface. Can't even buy it here. Kodak's still sticking it together with sticky tape. GoPro is a block of wood with 6 cameras shoved into it. You know, it's the closest thing is going to be maybe Nikon, but we haven't seen it yet. They've announced some specs, but we don't know what it is. Go ahead, Ed.
I think it might be just worth mentioning also its popularity in terms of its sales in different markets globally. It's now the most popular compact camera on Amazon, and that's every compact camera is now the most popular.
Do we have any idea how many actually have been sold? Are we talking 1 million or?
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
Yeah. We have a hard time keeping them in stock at the store, and Ed's with C.R. Kennedy's. They're the distributor. They've got a hard time keeping them in stock.
Yeah, we do. And it's sort of caught, I think, Ricoh by surprise a little bit as well. There's a bit of reduction as well. So, but it's picking up now. The last 5 months has been almost doubled every month.
Yeah.
And with Facebook, I think next month's going to be bigger.
Oh, this Facebook is the biggest game changer you could ever imagine for panoramic photography. I had to get on a plane on the Friday they launched it, and I couldn't play with it. No Wi-Fi in the air.
So I'm doing some work with BMW on electric cars.
Oh, yeah?
How would you do for a mounted car, or how would you manage the...
Oh, almost any of the suction cuppy things that are used in the cinematography biz, all the little lightweight ones for GoPros and whatever, you can get a Ricoh mounted on that. The trick to getting good Ricoh stuff, though, is getting it a little bit away from whatever you've mounted it to. So obviously, keeping in mind you got to keep it safe. But as far as if I was in the car dealer business, I'd be putting a Ricoh Theta into every salesman's kit. Every time you take a guy out for a demo ride, I'd be shooting a selfie with him in the driver's seat. I'd be putting it on social media. I'd be tagging him, and his wife's going to make him buy that car because he'd be guilted into it.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, that's what I'd be doing.
I'm doing BMW pop-up stores at the moment for the electric cars up the East Coast. I'm doing one in Hawthorne at the moment, and I might have to get one.
Did you see the pano I shot of the BMW electric car?
I came in late, so...
Oh, I shot it at the, somebody was, I don't think it was you, it was a different gentleman, but the BMW little compact electric car was at the South Melbourne market. I shoved the Theta into it and took a demo. Send it through to BMW. I don't think anybody knew what they were looking at.
Send to me, I'll send to the CEO.
Yeah, I can bring it up. Vehicle panels in a Theta are just incredible. Let's go find a Theta in a BMW. Theta. Feel free to ask another question while I type. I can multitask. Anybody else got anything?
File size of this?
File size. Oh, file size. The file that it sends through the Wi-Fi to my phone is usually about 2 megabytes at 14 megapixels. And then it stores a slightly lower compression version, which is about 4 megabytes in the internal memory. And you get the files out of the internal memory through the USB port. Just plug it in and Lightroom sees the camera. And the resolution is 5,376 pixels on the long axis. So that's about the same resolution as the long axes of a 23 megapixel 5D Mark III. I would think these are about 80 centimeter wide prints, so we're probably at, well, I don't know, I have to divide the math out. Feel free to just come and take a good close look and you see how good the detail is. I mean, it's, these modern inkjet printers are incredible at blowing up even relatively low res files. We did some tests with the digital wallpaper printer. I have no doubt in my mind we can take a Theta picture, the short axes printed floor to ceiling. No problem whatsoever. The video resolution of the Theta is a little, it's a bit odd. Actually, this is a good point. Let me show you what it looks like. Because what it produces is 2 spheres in a 1080p placeholder. So let me show you video from the Theta. So Equirect and okay, Equirex, video. Did I not do one here? Food photography. Okay, here we go. So here is the file right out of the Theta, shooting some video the other day. So what happens is this file gets transferred to your phone, and your phone can then turn that into the video version of these wide files. So they're called equirectangular. The problem is your phone doesn't have a lot of power. If you do a really long video and you transfer it, it's a huge file. They're about 120 megabytes per minute. And then of course your phone's got to do all the number crunching on it. Little 15, 30-second files, not a problem. Minutes, do them on your desktop.
So can you make those interact with the head?
Exactly. So your phone does that. So this is what the source file looks like. Now, here's what it looks like after it's been converted into equirectangular. Okay, same file. And then lastly, this file is what you then put up into YouTube or Facebook, and it gives you that virtual view. Remember I had the iPad, we had it? It was the same one. It was, yeah, it was this. It was from the food event. Yeah, and so then that is all interactive. On desktop, of course, you drag around the scene with your mouse. So my assessment on this is these are really good for mobile devices. They're not extremely high resolution, but on a small screen, they look bloody brilliant.
So you don't know what the resolution is?
1080p, but it's not, it's a 1080p file, but it's not really, it's limited by the size of that original sphere. So those spheres are 960 pixels across.
Okay.
So you got 2 spheres that are 960, so they make up, each one is a hemisphere and they get distorted. So yeah, it's, join our Facebook group and take a look at some of the videos at your leisure at home. I've got some hosted. Now, I had another question back here. Okay, there's 2 ways to do them. The ones that I handed out, now I've done those on my desktop computer using a stitching program called PT GUI, which I've been using for like 14 years or so. And I take the output of the Theta, I do a little bit of work in Lightroom, a little bit of work in Photoshop, then I do a little bit of work in PT GUI, and then I put it all together, then we make the prints. And that's what we're going to be teaching, all these little tricks of the trade in the workshop. If you buy a Theta, you're going to get that workshop for free. So there's lots of little special sauce that's added. However, the Ricoh app, and I will demonstrate it right now, you can do a little planet right on your phone. So let's just go over here and get over to there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the Ricoh Theta Plus app. See the icon? Like, unfortunately, my finger doesn't show up on the iPad when I press it, but it's this app right here. Okay, so there is one of the images that we've brought in, and I have chosen, On the bottom here, little planet view. Now keep in mind, this is an iPhone app running on an iPad, so it's not filling the screen. But there you go, I'm dynamically making a little planet out of a shot that we did a little earlier today in this room. But I can do a whole slew of things. I can make a regular square rectilinear picture. So that's just like a virtual camera standing in the room. I can make the mirror ball projection, or fisheye, as you may call it. This is sort of the default Ricoh projection, and I kind of like it. It's fun. And again, back to Little Planet. You can make the floor. You can do whatever you want, you know? So, and then I can then save that to the camera roll. I can crop it. I can do there's some filters like Instagram here, and directly post it to Instagram. And I have in the field with my phone, with that 30-foot pole in my hand, shot, processed, posted, without bringing the Theta down from 30 feet. I've also done it from a helicopter. Shot it and posted it while flying. And I did it from a hot air balloon as well, which is just incredible. It's a game changer. No computer required. Shoot it and post it while flying. Now, we've got another question in the back.
With the little world video you showed us before, did you do that the same way?
Done on the phone. 100% done on a phone.
Nice. I've got another question. With the photos, is it possible to stitch multiple photos together into like a video to play on Facebook?
Well, in the time-lapse mode with the Theta can shoot a panorama every 8 seconds, and then you can then put those together in the Theta Plus app to build a time-lapse, or maybe it's the Theta Plus video. And then that time-lapse, you can then warp into Little Planet and do all sorts of crazy things. And if you want to do a little bit of extra work on your desktop, you can make the Theta time-lapses into 4K video. Actually, you can do them in 5K if you want. With the one limitation, the Theta only runs 1 frame per 8 seconds per frame is the fastest it'll go. It will do 5 seconds per frame if you drop the res. But if you're going to drop the res, you might as well have shot video anyway. So I've been producing time lapses with it and also taking Theta video and speeding it up. I've got another Theta video that's sped up you might like here. Let me bring this one up. This one was from a hot air balloon, so it's kind of fun. So let's go here. Little Planet video. Oh, actually, maybe I don't have the Little Planet. Oh, I don't have that one. Sorry. Oh, this is a good one here. This one's at 16:9. So now this one has got a plane flying over me. I thought I brought the one from the... So in the bottom of the frame here, you're going to see a plane coming in. Happens to be the largest plane in the world, and it flies right over me. So that's just straight video. That's video out of the Theta, warped into a Little Planet, and I just think they're so cool. I'm sorry? That one? Yeah, all done on mobile. Only thing that I didn't do on mobile was add the watermark. I did that, actually I did it in Photoshop. But probably had that online within, I don't know, 30 minutes of getting the Theta in my hand, which was probably an hour after the plane, because I was in the helicopter when the plane was landing, so I had to get to the Theta because it was on the ground, because we had multiple Thetas. Any other questions?
Just to clarify, when you said fast moving images over Wi-Fi, does the file size actually change?
On iOS, the file that it sends to my camera, so the iPhone, is not a different resolution, but it's a different file size. It's compressed a little harder. I'm finding they're averaging about 2 megabytes file size, whereas the average size on the camera is about 4 megabytes. From the few tests I've done with friends' Android phones, it seems that the Android version doesn't send a smaller file. It sends the original file. But that also means it probably takes just a little wee bit longer to send it. It's just the way the iOS version of the app works. You have to really pixel peep to see much of a difference in quality between them. 2 megabytes versus 4. When I'm printing them, I go for the larger file and do my work because I'm a bit of a perfectionist. But I'm shooting and posting in real time all the time, and it's no big deal.
So do you say there's also the Android version of the apps as well?
Yes. The Theta apps exist for both Android and iOS. Now, Ed, are you using Android? You're iOS. I believe the video app doesn't exist for Android, but I'd have to check. I know that they're always making changes and there's always updating the apps. Most of the apps originally shipped for iOS, and from the few times I've used an Android phone with it, my personal preference is the iOS versions seem a little bit better. Just the nature of the beast.
And are there specs of phones you would recommend to do the video and
Well, if you're going to be processing video on a phone, you're going to want the fastest phone you can buy. I certainly have noticed that my iPad processes things quicker than my phone because my iPad is about one generation newer than my phone.
Good excuse to get the iPad Pro.
Yes, that's what I've been using. So my shot to display time is about 14 seconds on my iPad Pro, about 18 seconds on my iPhone 6 Plus, and about 22 seconds on my iPhone 5. Happy to hang around as long as anybody's got any questions.